As we enter week 4 of Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial, one name keeps surfacing, not just as someone with insider knowledge, but potentially the key to the entire racketeering case: Christina Coram. Described as Combs' alleged right-hand woman, the question on everyone's mind is, will she take the stand? And if she does, what bombshells could she reveal? Today, we're breaking down 1. What previous witnesses have said about Coram's role too, her alleged involvement in these serious accusations. 3. Why prosecutors may see her as their most valuable witness. Christina Coram, Sean Diddy Combs, former chief of staff, hasn't taken the stand yet in his criminal trial, but legal experts agree her testimony could be pivotal. In a high-stakes case involving sex trafficking and racketeering charges, where prosecutors allege Combs ran a criminal enterprise using company resources and staff to facilitate illegal activities, Coram isn't just another witness. She's potentially the prosecution's most valuable insider. Why she matters. 1. Racketeering requires coordination. Prosecutors must prove an organized pattern of criminal activity, which means they need someone who can explain the inner workings of Combs' alleged operation. 2. The right-hand factor. As Combs' former chief of staff, Coram would have unique insight into logistics, communications, and potential cover-ups. The big question: is she a flipped co-conspirator? Has she struck a deal with prosecutors in exchange for testimony? Her name has surfaced repeatedly throughout this trial for a reason. If she testifies, it could be the most devastating moment yet for Combs' defense. Today, we're analyzing what witnesses have already revealed about her role, the legal strategy behind calling her to the stand, why her testimony could make or break this case. Christina Coram isn't just a potential witness. She's been directly implicated in multiple lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs, even named as a co-defendant in some. These filings paint a disturbing picture of her alleged involvement in Combs' operations. Key allegations against Coram: 1. Ashley Parr's lawsuit, gang rape and coercion claims. Parr accused Combs, comedian Dusky, and NFL star Odell Beckham Jr. of violent assault. Coram's alleged role: court documents claim she discussed disfiguring Parr, referencing a Glasgow smile, to control her. Threatened to traffic Parr internationally, warning she'd never see her family again. Most shocking, accused of forcibly inserting an IUD into Parr, with claims she and Combs argued over its effectiveness, not the act itself. 2. Additional lawsuit: multiple plaintiffs allege Coram actively facilitated Combs' abuse by Ramsaz Arbeid, aiding in the exploitation of men and women, systematically covering up sexual assaults. Why this matters for the trial. Coram isn't just a witness, she's accused of being a key enabler in Combs' alleged criminal enterprise. If prosecutors can prove her involvement, it strengthens the racketeering case by showing an organized system of coercion and cover-ups. Critical question: will she testify against Combs to avoid prosecution herself? Christina Coram's name has surfaced in multiple legal battles, including a lawsuit filed by a former employee who alleges she instructed him to clean hotel rooms after wild, adult-themed parties hosted by Com. But perhaps most notably, and this is where many first heard her name, she was named as a defendant in a bombshell lawsuit brought by Combs' former producer, Rodney Lil Rod Jones. Jones's lawsuit includes serious allegations: sexual harassment, racketeering violations, and claims that courtroom managed the day-to-day operations of what's described as a criminal enterprise tied to illicit activities. The suit even draws a stark comparison, alleging she played a role similar to Ghislaine Maxwell, the convicted associate of late financier Jeffrey Epstein, who's now serving 20 years for sex trafficking. Adding fuel to the fire, Combe himself seemingly acknowledged courtroom's importance in a 2021 Facebook post, writing, "Kay keeps everything in my life and business running. She's been my right hand for 8 years, gets things done. Don't know how I'd function without her." Now, while that post doesn't reference any illegal activity, it does underscore her central role in Combe's world, a detail that's now under intense scrutiny. Now, Christina Courtroom has publicly addressed these allegations head-on. A few months ago, she released a statement, first published by USA Today and reported by Rolling Stone, where she vehemently denied any wrongdoing. Here's what she said. "For months, horrific accusations have been made about me in various lawsuits tied to my former boss. These false claims are causing irreparable damage, not just to my reputation, but to my family's emotional well-being." She went on to state firmly, "Let me be clear. I have never condoned, assisted, or turned a blind eye to any form of sexual assault. The idea that I could be accused of involvement, or even standing by while such crimes occurred, is deeply upsetting and absolutely untrue. That is not who I am. My heart goes out to all victims of these terrible acts." Courtroom ended with a note of defiance. "I am confident the truth will come out, and these allegations against me will be proven false." Now, here's what's important to understand. While those specific civil lawsuit allegations haven't been part of the criminal trial, Christina Courtroom's name keeps appearing in testimony. This raises big questions. Could she testify for the prosecution? Might she actually help the defense? Let me show you how she's already come up in this case. Take this revealing testimony from Combs' former assistant George Kaplan. Prosecutors asked, "Who did you personally report to when you were Mr. Combs' assistant?" Kaplan responded, "Christina Courtroom, the director of his office." When shown a photo, he confirmed, "Yes, that's Christina Courtroom. We called her KK." And what was her role? According to testimony, she essentially ran Mr. Combs' entire life as director of his executive office. Now, here's where it connects to the criminal charges. Prosecutors allege women were forced into prolonged sexual encounters at various locations, with Combs' team preparing and cleaning up the spaces afterward. While Courtroom hasn't been directly accused in the criminal case, her central role in operations, as described under oath, makes her a potentially crucial figure as this trial develops. Now, if we follow the prosecution's argument that these hotel rooms were essentially crime scenes, listen closely to what Kaplan revealed under oath. Prosecutor: "Who typically instructed you to prepare hotel rooms for Mr. Combe?" Kaplan: "Either Mr. Combe himself or Christina." Prosecutor: "When you say Christina, you're referring to Christina Courtroom." Kaplan: "Yes." This testimony directly connects Courtroom to the logistical preparation of spaces where prosecutors allege illegal activities occurred. While this doesn't prove wrongdoing on her part, it establishes her operational involvement, a potentially crucial piece of the puzzle as this case unfolds. During his appearance on the Law and Crime channel, Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Arenberg, who also hosts Legal AF on the Midas Touch Network, shared several key insights. Here are the main takeaways. The anchor didn't hold back. He pressed the lawyer with this critical question. She absolutely has to be called as a witness in this case, right? The lawyer responded bluntly, without question. Remember, it was Diddy himself who called her his right hand. That admission alone makes her testimony crucial. But here's what really makes you think. The anchor followed up. If she's being compared to Ghislaine Maxwell in this case, why hasn't she been charged? The lawyer's theory? The most likely explanation is she's already cut a deal with prosecutors. If she hadn't, she'd absolutely be in their crosshairs right now. He went on to say he fully expects her to appear at trial, probably as a cooperating witness for the prosecution. The anchor drilled down with a crucial legal question. How exactly could Christina Carrorum help prosecutors prove their case, especially on serious charges like racketeering and sex trafficking? Here's the lawyer's breakdown. To prove racketeering, prosecutors must show this wasn't just random misconduct, but an ongoing criminal enterprise. And who better to testify about that than Diddy's own right-hand woman? As the lawyer put it, she knows where all the bodies are buried. Specifically, Carrorum could. 1. Connect Diddy's businesses to alleged crimes key for racketeering. 2. Detail how victims like Cassie were allegedly managed, including travel arrangements and financial transactions. 3. Provide insider knowledge about any system of force, fraud, or coercion used, which is central to proving trafficking. The bottom line? Her testimony could be the missing puzzle piece for prosecutors. As the lawyer emphasized, it's not just about one incident, it's about proving a pattern. And that pattern could mean serious trouble. Here's a bombshell revelation from testimony. Homeland Security seized Christina Carrorum's cell phone during Combs' arrest at the Park Heights Hotel in September 2024. As the lawyer emphasized, when authorities have your phone, they have your story. We've seen countless cases where phones unlock devastating new charges. The anchor pressed the obvious question. If the feds have KK's phone, that's what Diddy calls her, doesn't that mean they already know everything she knows? The lawyer agreed. Exactly. And the fact she hasn't been charged? That screams cooperation. But here's the twist. While she could testify for the defense, it's incredibly risky. Even with a potential immunity deal if she lies on stand? That's perjury, and no deal protects her from that. The lawyer's theory? Prosecutors might be holding her in reserve as a rebuttal witness, waiting to demolish the defense's case if needed. Before we dive into how Christina Carrorum's name has already surfaced in testimony, the anchor asked a critical legal question. Could those explosive civil lawsuit allegations against her actually come up in Diddy's criminal trial? Here's the lawyer's take. If Carrorum takes the stand, all bets are off. The defense could absolutely weaponize those civil claims against her, painting her as a liar trying to save herself by turning on Diddy. As the lawyer put it, they'll say she's the real villain here, making up stories to escape her own legal troubles. But here's what makes this so dangerous for both sides. Those unproven civil allegations create a minefield. If prosecutors call her as a witness, Diddy's team will surely attack her credibility with every salacious claim from those lawsuits. Yet if she doesn't testify, jurors are left wondering, what does the woman Diddy, called his right hand, really know?
I want to talk a little bit about how she was already brought up during the course of this trial. So I mentioned George Kaplan. So he testified that he was a witness to the abuse of Cassandra Ventura, victim number 1 in this case. Prosecutors say that Combs used violence, threats, financial control, intimidation, manipulation to coerce her into commercial sex acts, right, sex trafficking. And Kaplan said that one time he was on a private plane, heard glass shattering, and he sees Sean Combs holding up a whiskey glass over his head. Tassie's on the floor. Her hands are in front of her face. He also said he observed Combs throw green apples at another girlfriend of his in his Miami home. So this pattern of abusing women, important for racketeering. And this is the back and forth question. What did you tell KK? I gave her a recount of what I had observed the night before. Did you tell her everything you have just told us? Yes. What, if anything, did you tell her about what you had observed on the jet involving Cassie? I told her each time that I witnessed any sort of violent act. Did you tell KK about the incident on the jet? Yes. Do you remember being asked about the conversation you had that next day with Christina Koren? Yes. Did you tell her about both of these incidents during that conversation? No. Which incident did you tell her about? The green apple incident. And earlier, had you told her about the incident on the jet? Yes. What didn't you tell her about why you decided to quit working for Mr. Combs during that conversation? I think the words I used were that I was unwilling to stand by the behavior. What behavior were you talking about in the context of that conversation with Christina, the green apples and the airplane incident? Did you tell Christina you were going to quit because of that? Yes. Did Christina say she was going to quit too? No. Did Christina, as far as you know, quit any time after you left? No. As far as you know, how long did Christina stay working for Mr. Combs after you told her about these two incidents that shook you tremendously? I haven't spoken to her in a while, but my understanding was that she was working for him up until pretty recently. Dave, where's I tell you?
Tells you, allegedly, she was in on the whole thing. I mean, she seems to be the one employee that hasn't broken from Diddy, that hasn't been attacked or threatened. And why is that? Because allegedly she has been carrying out Diddy's criminal enterprise. That's what the government, I'm sure, believes. But why hasn't she been charged? Because she knows so much she could sink Diddy. So I think that's why. Or maybe if they haven't cut a deal with her, they're waiting to charge her afterwards, like Ghislaine Maxwell was charged afterwards, but after Jeffrey Epstein. But I think it's more likely that a deal's been cut. I mean, some of these about whether she cut a deal with prosecutors. Oh, yeah. That's always used by defense lawyers to undermine the credibility of a witness, saying, oh, you're here under immunity agreement, right? You know, you cut a deal with prosecutors, right? You're facing decades in prison, and that's why you're here lying on the stand. That's the kind of stuff. By the way, it doesn't mean she's lying. It just means that she's thinking about herself. That's human nature. Yeah. I just had to say, all these incidents, how can Diddy survive in the court of public opinion no matter what happens here? I mean, you have the green apple incident. Well, I mean, I actually just had to Google the Glasgow smile. I didn't even know what that was.
Cassie Ventura also testified about Christina Koren too. Listen to this exchange. When you mentioned trusted assistants, who were some of the trusted assistants? I mean, in the very beginning, it was David James. It just kind of changed over time. Christina Koren, eventually, Neil Dominic. He had a lot of different assistants. At what point in your relationship did you start communicating with Miss Koren? As soon as she started, I'm not positive the year. Was that in the beginning, the middle, or the end of your relationship with Sean? It was like the middle of the relationship. Wouldn't you call Miss Koren? I called her KK. And how frequently did you interact with KK? Every day. And what subject matters did you communicate with KK about? Everything from scheduling to what kind of mood he was in. I talked to KK about a lot. She knew a lot of my personal things. Aside from conversations you had with your attorney, which I don't want you to ask about, was there any other way you went about trying to contact Sean regarding the book chapters? By the way, I'm taking different pieces of the testimony. The pieces I believe was about Ventura allegedly offering Combs the rights to her book, about her experiences, about her time with him, possibly that he would buy him for $30 million. Anyway, Ventura responded, yeah, I reached directly out to Christina, to KK. What did you ask KK? I asked if he had read it and or just knew about it at all. And she said that basically it hadn't been taken seriously. Like, I don't think anybody believed that was actually me. So what do you mean you don't think anyone believed that was you? She said it wasn't taken seriously, like they didn't think that I would do something like that. Then, by the way, she testified about an episode where Combs had eventually tried to get into her apartment. So, listen to this exchange. Miss Ventura, how do you know Sean was trying to get into the apartment? Because I was notified by his assistant. Who told you Sean was trying to get into your apartment? Well, Carrie, because she was there, and Christina Koren. What, if anything, could you hear while this was happening? Just chaos outside the door, banging, kicking, yelling. So Dave, according to Ventura, Koren was essentially in the thick of it all. And it does make you wonder exactly does she corroborate Cassandra Ventura's account, and how much is she going to be grilled about this? Again, I think a central role she might play.
Yeah, the big defense for Diddy and all this is consent. He's trying to make jurors believe that Cassie and the others consented to this activity. If you can prove or at least show some doubt that there was consent here for that alleged human trafficking, then the whole case falls apart. So how do you combat that if you're Cassie? Well, you have corroboration. You have other witnesses who have testified, but also you have contemporary statements that she made to KK. Statements that said, here, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And that kind of stuff's important because it shows that Cassie was being forced into it or was being coerced into it. And any statement she makes at the time can come in to show her present sense impressions, that she was thinking like this at the time. This was her spontaneous comments, and it shows that she was under duress, that it was not consensual. So KK is valuable for a lot of reasons, and that's why I guess maybe I'm a little surprised she has not been called yet by the...
Let's talk about him, I think it was strategic because other people have already testified about her too, right? And I think it's strategic on the part of prosecutors to not call her yet. Why do I say it? Deontay Nash. This was Combs and Cassie Stiles. Took the stand. Question. Who are Mr. Combs' staff did you talk to about the violence you observed Mr. Combs inflict on Cassie? Derek and Christina. Who is Christina? Pup's assistant. How did Christina respond when you told her about violence you observed between Mr. Combs and Cassie? That she would talk to him. Then there was an objection. The court overruled it. And did the violence stop after she said that? No. You said he would blow everyone's phone up. Who is the he? Puff. And when you say blow everyone's phone off, what did you mean? He would call incessantly. Who did you see him call incessantly? Me and Cassie. And who else during those same periods called you and Cassie? Christina. Christina Coram? Yes. Did you answer any of those calls? Yes. When you answered Mr. Combs' calls, what did he say? He would just say, we needed to get back to the house. She needs to get back to the house. And what do you remember his tone being? Sometimes angry. Sometimes he would soften up. And what do you remember Christina saying when you answered her calls? That she was going to help with the situation, that he's calmed down, that we should come back to the house. Then there was Ventura's former friend Kerry Morden, who testified about Christina Coram. Question, why would Miss Coram tell you she was trying to call you if he couldn't get in touch with Cassie, usually? Did she ever tell you who had told her to call? Well, I'm assuming it would be Sean. Without assuming, did she ever say that he had told her to call? Yes. And she testified about this alleged encounter when Combs eventually showed up to Ventura's home, pounding on the door with a hammer. This, by the way, was act to be infamous 2016 hotel video of Combs appearing to beat up Cassandra Ventura. Morgan testified police were called after Combs couldn't get into the apartment. Quote, who, if anyone, did you tell about the police officers arriving at the apartment? Christina Coram. Miss Morgan, do you recognize the participants in this chat? Yes, who are they? Me and Christina. Could you please read your first two messages? I'm so sorry I missed your calls. I'm just so not used to this S. Are you okay? And in the first two messages on the next page, it's so dramatic. I haven't been looking at my phone. We're okay, but it's just so nuts. Okay, turning to this next message, can you read it, please? I don't think anyone should call her. Who is the her you're referring to? Cassie. Did you send an attachment with this message? Yes. What was that attachment? It's the card that the detective left. I'll read Miss Corb's messages if you read your own, please. Can I call you in a bit when I'm alone? She was looking for anyone to say the wrong thing so she can call domestic abuse. Who is the she that you're referring to in this statement and police officer that came? Okay, turning to the next messages, could you please read? Of course. Katz just asked me to send you that. And what were you referring to when you said Cass just asked me to send you that? The business card of the detective. In these messages, Miss Coram mentioned she is going to call you. Did you talk with Miss Coram on the phone after this? I'm not sure. Nia. Combs' former assistant Mia took the stand, testified that Combs physically and sexually assaulted her, and she too testified about how Christina Coram was in the thick of it, the knowledge component, alleged cooperation or facilitating this. So Coram would contact her, allegedly, when Combs wanted to get a hold of her. Again, alleged victim number 4. But it's interesting. For example, Coram allegedly messaged her, he just called me again, and he said he needs you to call him now. I told him everything you said, and he does not want to listen, and said you need to call him now. Mia, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do. Mia, he just told me to tell you if you don't call him in the next 2 minutes, you don't have a job. Dade, is Coram a reluctant co-conspirator for racketeering conspiracy. And by the way, strategic, I think it was strategic to bring her up so much for the jury that when she finally does maybe testify, the jury is very familiar with who Christina Coram is. So 2 points there. Do you think she's a reluctant co-conspirator? Because again, racketeering conspiracy, can't be it himself. And was there this ambivalence? And again, I think the strategic point of it was the jury's going to recognize her if and when she testifies.
Well, at times she does appear to be a reluctant co-conspirator, like that last email you read. But at other times, she seems to eagerly try to cover up for him and really enable him. So, yeah, it just depends. You could get her both ways. You can get her as someone who was full-fledged in on the racketeering, and other times that she was had a conscience and she was reluctant to go along, but she ultimately did. Either way, you got her as part of the conspiracy, the racketeering. You know, you could have done it either way. You could have brought her in after all the other people testified, because they all corroborate each other. So if she goes up and lies, she'll look really bad, and it could blow back on the defense and say, oh, this is the employee covering up, and then you could always charge her for perjury. But I do think there is value, as I've been saying, about calling her as a rebuttal witness. It's like the sword of Damocles hanging over Diddy's head. You want to play? You want to put on some lies on your defense? I got the ace in the hole. I got that sword of Damocles. I've got KK who will come and just corroborate everything Cassie said and undermine everything you said in your case. So you better be careful what you say in your defense.